We are joined by Mr. Sudhakar Desai, President of the Indian Vegetable Oil Producers Association, a key leader in the industry. He is here to discuss about India's edible oil imports, the impact of recent duty cuts, the new MOU with Indonesia, and how the sector is preparing for festive demand. Welcome, Mr. Desai.
Thank you.
Mr. Desai, how have India's edible oil imports performed in 2024-25 marketing year so far, and what's driving the recent surge to 1.4 million tons in July?
Yeah, so normally industry talks about the oil year like 24-25 would be like October 24 to 25 October. So we expect imports to be a little lower than last year because in the last 6 months imports are down by a whopping 1.2 million ton, nearly 12 lakh tons of imports or less. But in the next 6 months, it also includes the seasonality. In the next 6 months, it will make up. But overall, I expect more or less same imports like last year but imports were also low because there was an initial pipeline that got built up in the last season, like October, November, December, carrying into this calendar year. And also the markets were a lot of confusion about the zero duty imports from Nepal and SAFTA countries, or the markets in the global markets were heavily inverted. That means the forward was cheaper. So there was no incentive for people to actually buy too much from January at least. And also in the last year in September, there was a duty increase coupled with the global tightness. So this has actually increased the prices a little bit more, which got corrected now, retrieved back in May 25. The prices have come down actually with the duty reduction. So I think because of these reasons, probably consumption was a little bit lower in the first 6 months.
With festivals like Durga Puja starting early in September, you expect a 10% surge in palm oil demand. How are importers preparing for this peak in August?
I think the preparation has already started. We see June, July, a good amount of imports actually. That explains why the people are buying ahead of time the mustard oil ahead of this festival time. I think the buying has already started because the pipeline, like I said, was very dry the previous 3 months. So now there is a pipeline filling demand, and then there is a demand for the festival. Sometimes industry or the distribution channel overdoes it. Like what I mean is, if the demand were to go up by let's say 7% or 8%, normally sometimes people prepare for 20%, and then they will say, okay, the demand was there, but our stocks have not moved, and the prices have fallen meanwhile. So it is a careful risk reward situation, but this time Durga Puja, for example, which you mentioned, is quite earlier this year. So I think by August 15, all this buying will happen.
Palm oil imports dropped by 1.2 million tons earlier this year due to high prices. What factors are now bringing palm oil back into India's import basket?
Yes, that's an important question actually, because palm oil is the largest component of the entire industrial horeca segment, including bakery and vanaspati and all the sweet meat shops. So palm oil is a very specific need in biscuit industry. But what happened was, due to the Indonesian policy of biofuel, so they have gone to B40. That means 40% of the fuel consumption is made from the biofuel, from palm oil production basically. So now they are talking about B50 actually. But due to these reasons, coupled with a very tight production, the palm oil prices went above soybean oil prices, its rival oil, and at some stage in the last year, it also was higher than even sunflower oil, which is not normally the case. But now with the production increases back in Indonesia, Malaysia, and the prices of soybean oil actually on the other front, governed by the US biofuel policy, which is called 45Z, and also wherein they give the mandates, a subsidy for usage of agro oils, agri-based products, including soybean oil as a renewable energy. So with all these reasons, soybean oil prices went up more, and today as we stand, the palm oil is well priced. It is about $100 per ton cheaper than soybean oil, unlike previous when it was higher. Due to that reason, the palm oil is back into import basket in a big way. I think in the current month is an indicator. It is the palm oil imports almost double than what it was, and soybean oil has come down. So, because of that, we expect this palm oil needing Indian demand for the next 6 months or so.
The government slashed import duties on crude edible oils from 20 to 10% in May this year. How has this affected the cost and availability of oils like palm, soybean and sunflower?
Yeah, it has been imported at this import duty rate, and it has eased out somewhat. It's a little bit of a relief to consumers definitely, because otherwise the prices would have been even higher. And but mustard at this point in time came out as a significantly different product category, the prices of which due to demand and the talks of lower crop or whatever reasons, the mustard prices were a little bit like leading the pack of edible oil prices right now.
You have welcomed the increased duty differential between crude and refined oils to 19.25%. How does this protect India's domestic refinery industry while keeping prices affordable for consumers?
Yes, yes. So, this is earlier Indian duty differential used to be about 8.25%, and looking at that, the origin palm countries have given a 10% export subsidy for the finished goods. So, into India, instead of manufacturing many geographies, many ports, it was actually cheaper by 1 rupee or 2 rupees per kilo, cheaper to import olein, maybe 1 rupee. 1 rupee out of 120 rupees is actually big money in the industry. So, there used to be a time when about 35% of imports of palm oil used to be finished goods, and that was coming at the cost of the capacity and also the margin injury to the domestic industry. And this last time when the duties went up, the zero duty imports from the SAFTA countries like Nepal, Bangladesh got triggered. That also has affected the stocking pattern in India. So, these two were a major factor disturbing the free flow of supply chain, and also they were disturbing the level playing field. So, with this now correction in this duty differential, the issues got somewhat resolved. But there is also one issue that has been left out. There is also byproducts in the refining industry called palm fatty acids and other byproducts. Those duties are still at about 8% or 8.5% as against the crude oil, which is at 16.5%. This is typically called an inverted duty structure, because all the manufactured products and their byproducts duty cannot be lower than the raw material import duty normally. We hope that also will be corrected sometime.
Union Food Minister Prahlad Joshi urged the industry to pass duty cuts benefits to consumers quickly. Have these savings reached consumers yet, particularly for loose and packaged oils?
Actually, when the duties were decreased in the loose oil, I think within 2 days it was reflected in the loose oil prices, at which the sales are a component of branded and loose oil. That was reflected very immediately because it's a very competitive industry. But when it comes to branded packs, so you will have 20-25 days lead time to reflect. But I think everybody has reduced, if I am not mistaken, on twice, once on 4th or 5th June and 13th June, and then giving the data regularly, the prices have come down to normalcy, including the industry typically operates the duty as the cost of product, cost of goods.
You mentioned it takes 21 to 25-day lag in passing duty cuts to consumers for packaged oils. Why does this delay occur, and how can it be reduced to benefit consumers faster?
Because in the supply chain, the government, the factories sell to the distributors, they sell to the sub-stockist, and then it reaches about 2 million outlets. So, there is always a stock in the pipeline of 20-30 days, sometimes 30 days stock is also. That is why we all write on our branded products, once they leave our factory, we assure 6 months shelf life actually. So sometimes it takes some time for the products on the shelves to move as and when they get replaced with the new prices basically from the retail shelf.
India imports over 50% of its edible oil needs, with palm oil mainly from Indonesia and Malaysia. Can you tell us about the MOU with the Indonesian Palm Oil Association and its role in securing a stable supply?
We always been, ever since COVID actually, this topic of supply chain and how much oil is coming, how much stocks are there, is it enough, has got triggered actually due to COVID times when the global has come to a standstill. Second time when the geopolitical tensions started off in Ukraine, Russia. How are we going to get sunflower oil into the country if the country is attacked? So these are the problems that come with huge import dependency. So at that time, we were working with the government regularly, actually almost on weekly, fortnightly basis. I would remember where we were trying to say how much is supply chain oils are there in the pipeline, how much is coming, and how alternative countries have actually started making up for sunflower oil. So this is where the topic has originated. But otherwise, industry has done a fantastic job at all difficult times to maintain a regular supply chain into the country. So in that context, as far as palm oil is concerned, the majority used to come from Indonesia and a lot of it from Malaysia. So at that point in time, we started working on the global linkages, how to exchange information, how to be with get the sellers and buyers to the same platform, how we can take advantage of the value addition and byproducts that are produced globally, what are their farm practices, like for example in oil plantations in India, we have to import seedlings. So for all these things, we've been working and talking to various counterparts. For example, we made about 4 years ago to bring the plantation companies through Malaysian Palm Oil Council to get seedling import to help them facilitate the same for importation. So for all these reasons, we made MOUs with other global companies which are in sustainability. We also did with Malaysian Palm Oil. We also entered into MOU with Thailand Refinery Association because Thailand emerged as a new supplier to India. Now with Indonesia, it is very, very crucial being a major supplier. We made an MOU for exchange of information for our visits to happen to Indonesia, and when they want to come and meet people here, the potential buyers. So with all these things, we entered into a memorandum of understanding. It is though non-binding and non-commercial. It is more like co-option for a win-win situation with various supplying countries.
The Oreca sector and brands like Parle shifted to rice bran oil when palm oil prices were high. How are import strategies adapting to facilitate the shift back to palm oil now that the prices are lower?
It's very easy. Just go back to palm oil. Because all these Oreca institutions, in my experience, they also have price pressure points. So they need to keep their costs low. So they would continue to switch. There are some reasons why the rice bran oil fitted. In some applications, probably there is no immediate solution to palm oil in the sector that you are mentioning.
Global palm oil prices have been volatile due to Indonesia's biodiesel mandates and other factors. How is your association working to stabilize India's import supply amidst these challenges?
It is a global fact by now that 25% of edible oil produced globally is going into biofuels. Whether it is top countries in this mission are US, Brazil, and Indonesia actually. Like Indonesia, if B50 were to happen, they will be consuming about 15 or 16 million tons of oil, whereas Indian imports are half of that. So the biofuel sector size in Indonesia or the dynamics governing these prices is sheerly big. Like recently when we had the Iran geopolitical tensions around that area, Iran, Israel, when the crude oil prices went up. So you will find that veg oil prices also moving in tandem, because the connection between these two sectors is significant because of the usage of biofuel which is growing. Food and fuel is a fact of life right now. So globally, the linkage in terms of price factors between both commodities will remain. But the whole IVPA event that we have done with all the global experts, of course, we had eminent people coming from the global experiences and also from the domestic industry, talking about this particular issue of how much would India need in the next few years, and will the global supplies keep pace with that to meet our demand. The lot of factors will go in such long-term analysis, but it is imperative that India should focus. We played a very big role by giving papers, white paper on the self-sufficiency drive. It is not a dilemma anymore. I think India should improve the domestic availability of oil seeds. Even if we achieve from the current 58% to be specific, or 57%, even if we reduce the import dependency to 45% in the next 10 years, keeping also with pace with the increases that have been happening, it will be a good achievement.
With India aiming to expand palm oil cultivation to 1 million tons by 25-26, how is your association leveraging import participations to support this goal through seed supply and technical expertise?
Yeah, that's the attempt that we did about 3-4 years ago. We tried to get the seed supplying companies with the oil plantation companies. Of course, oil plantation companies here are very few. They also have access to the global markets to import. But with Telangana government and Andhra government and South, Northeast, we are yet to do. But we've been conversing that the government mission of oil palm should become successful with some capital infusion, so that to make this current 300,000 tons, which is a very minuscule component of palm production, to reach 1.2 million tons, it is on the right path. Maybe it will take 6-7 years instead of 5 years that we target.
The government has come out with a new order to regulate vegetable oil sector. Is your industry prepared to implement this regulation?
Yeah, so we welcome that. In fact, we made a lot of suggestions. Like yesterday, our food secretary also mentioned, they are taken input from the data from the industry, and they have streamlined some of this, because earlier website where everybody was to put data was having some glitches. But now hopefully once it is done, at least the entire organized sector will not have any problem to upload this data, because there are a lot of returns that are filed with annual basis with FSSI also and other government bodies. But if the data is required for all these things, I think the one problem will be the unorganized sector. There may be about 35-40% of the total basket of industry, but then there are innumerous, there may be 100 times more in number with small units. So that we will have to see how fast they will be able to comply with this regulations. Maybe it will take time, but having data of production and sales and dispatches is the basic idea of the VOPA order, because the import data is there available anyway. All the imports are done through customs, so there is a real-time data available buyer-wise about the imports with the government anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Desai, for your insights on India's edible oil imports, the MOU with Indonesia, and strategies to ensure a stable supply. Your leadership is vital for India's food security and trade. Stay tuned for more updates on global edible oil markets.
Thank you so much.